Hi everybody, I'm Mataure. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to episode 2 of my mental health series, How Are You Really? In episode 1, we discussed a topic very close to my heart, which was grief. Today we're covering something a little bit different. I'm starting a series on depression. This particular episode is going to be about postnatal depression, which I experienced in the last few months. And I wanted to go into the details of my experience, how it happened, all of that jazz. In one of my previous videos, I mentioned that I just went dark off social media because I was experiencing challenges with postnatal depression. So some of you have asked what it was like, how did I know I was depressed and all that stuff. So I thought I'd go into some detail about that today. So just to clarify, there's different types of depression, but we're specifically talking about the depression that tends to hit mothers 3 weeks or a few months after they've given birth. Now, this is not going to be any form of medical talk. I'm not going to give you any definitions or whatever. I think maybe I'll get someone to come onto my channel to talk about the medical aspect of it and how it happens. But I just want to share my experience and how I knew something was wrong. Let's take it from the top. So Ayanda was born. Everything was hunky-dory. 3 weeks, I think 2 weeks after I gave birth, we came to Chimani. Everything was fine. And then certain things started to creep up. So I'm someone who has dealt with a bit of depression and anxiety for many, many years, and I've known this, right? But things started to steadily get worse. My anxiety shot through the roof. At first, I thought perhaps I'm just tired. Obviously, with a newborn, you are exhausted, and at first I was just tired. But 3-4 weeks into it, I realized, no, I'm actually really sad. I found I was crying all the time. I was always in tears, but I could never pinpoint why I was so sad because, I mean, I was so happy. I was so grateful. I'm living the life of my dreams. You know what I mean? I've got an amazing husband. I've got 2 beautiful children. On paper, right? I'm supposed to be so happy. But in reality, I was constantly so sad. I couldn't, I'd wake up in the morning with like a weight on my chest and I would feel so depressed. I was just really, I was really sad. So it kind of started with the tears and I was like, okay, whatever. It's probably just my hormones, right? After giving birth. Of course, everybody feels a little weepy after giving birth because there's a condition called the baby blues, which is quite common where after giving birth, a mom feels a little bit emotional, a little bit sad, but it tends to fade after a few weeks. So I thought, okay, classic baby blues, that's fine. I had it with MJ, it passed. And then after a while, I started to have thoughts. Now, I felt incompetent as a mother. I felt like I was a terrible mother because I didn't want to be around my children. I did not want to be around my kids. I didn't want to see them. I didn't want to be around them because I just felt like I had nothing to offer them. I was a terrible mom. And again, I thought this was normal because I think not only every mother, but I think every parent generally goes through periods of doubting your capabilities. Do you really think you're a good mom? Mom guilt, blah, blah, blah. But it became really bad. I started to think my family would probably be better off without me because I'm not adding any value. So I kind of started speaking to Chunks about it like, hey, you know, I don't think I'm doing well. I think I need you here more. I need you home more. Because when we got back, Chunks kind of went straight back to work. And I said, but before that, we'd agreed that he was going to try and spend more time at home to kind of help us transition into this life with 2 kids, right? So I said to him, look, I think I need a bit of help. I think I'm feeling down. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. But I realized that the times when he was at work, now I have full-time help, by the way. MJ would go to school, I would hand over Aya to my helper, and then I would lie in bed all day doing nothing. I couldn't sleep. As exhausted as I was, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't focus on anything. So I'd spend my day scrolling on TikTok because, you know, TikTok is easy, right? It's like 10, 15-second videos. And I couldn't watch a movie, for example. I didn't have the mental capacity to sit and concentrate for that long. And that's something, again, that since I gave birth to MJ, I actually can't watch a movie in one sitting. I don't have the mental concentration to do that. Since MJ, I have to like break it into parts. So I thought it was that, but it became really, really bad. I couldn't sit and focus on anything. I was constantly worried, constantly stressed, and the symptoms just started getting worse and worse and worse. And then, look, I won't say I was suicidal. Okay, I thought about suicide, right? But not in a way that I would actually do it. Like, I think I love my kids too much to put them through that. Obviously, you guys know that I lost my mom, and, you know, life without a mom has been really, really hard for me. So I would never do that to my children. But I would consider, like, oh my gosh, I'm such a horrible wife. I'm such a horrible mother. I'm sure Chonks and the kids would probably do better without me. I just felt like such a burden. And these thoughts started to get worse and worse and worse. And then the anxiety kicked in. So you guys know I do struggle with anxiety. But it became really bad. So at first, I couldn't leave the house. So we came back from Chimani when I was 2 weeks old. And by the time she was like 5 or 6 weeks old, I realized I hadn't stepped out of the gate in that time because I was petrified. So initially Chongs would say to me, oh, you know, why don't you come, let's go to the hotel for a bit. And I was like, no, I can't go to the hotel, or I can't go to work, because what if I die in a car accident or something happens to me? I will starve to death because I'm breastfeeding. So these were the initial thoughts, right? And I was like, no, she won't. But anyway, fine, that's okay. And then when we started formula feeding her as well, he said to me, oh, you know what? She is formula feeding now, right? So, you know, you don't need to worry about if something happens to you because she's got formula. She's not going to starve to death. And I was like, no, I can't leave the house. Like, the thought of leaving the house petrified me, like, beyond rhyme or reason. That's how I started to figure out that, okay, I think something is wrong, because just the thought of leaving the house, I would break into a sweat. I was very, very scared of leaving the house for some reason. And then Chonks eventually said to me, okay, it's fine. Why don't we take her with us? Let's just get in the car and go. And I was like, no, I don't want to see people. I became very anxious and just socially, I don't know, the thought of like seeing people would just freak me out. And then he's like, no, but let's just get in the car and we'll just drive. You don't even have to get out of the car. You don't have to see anybody. We'll drive to the top of Skyline, U-turn, and come back, okay? The kids will be with us. Everything will be fine. But just the thought of that would just terrify me. And I started to realize that this is just being irrational. Like, this is not rational. It's not normal. So on paper, I knew that, okay, look, these thoughts, look, the chances of it happening, slim to none, right? On paper, I know this is irrational, but I couldn't bring myself to do some of these things. I couldn't even walk past the gate, right? I couldn't, because he would say to me, okay, let's take a walk. And I couldn't do that. And while dealing with all these feelings, I was really sad, extremely moody. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't do anything. It was just, it was a terrible time. So at that point, I started to realize, okay, maybe I think I need some help. So I would ask people on group chats like, hey guys, I'm going through some of these things. Is this normal? Have you guys gone through this? And a lot of people were like, yeah, it's completely normal. Yeah, it's fine, you know. It'll go away after a few weeks, you know, all that kind of stuff. And people kind of like, and I'm not blaming them, okay? Everybody's experience is different. But I thought it would go away, but it steadily got worse. And the thoughts in my mind got darker and darker and darker. And to be clear, the women who are diagnosed with postnatal depression have been known to harm their children. I was not at that point. I don't think, well, maybe if I just left it, maybe I would have gotten there, but I wasn't at a point where I felt I would harm myself or my kids, but I just didn't want to be around them. So eventually I spoke to my friend Kudzi, and they said to her, okay, Kudzi, I think I'm going through something. I'm just gonna, you know, I think I've got, you know, postpartum depression. And she's like, okay, cool. What are you feeling? And then I listed my symptoms, and she's like, yep, okay. I think you've got postnatal depression. I think you need to talk to somebody. And she like held me to it. She's like, okay, you know, have you told Chonks? Have you spoken to a doctor? Have you spoken to somebody? Because they do say when you do experience these things, you need to reach out to a doctor. So I was like, yeah, I kind of would. But she like gave me timelines. Like, look, by end of day tomorrow, I'm going to call you and I need to find out what exactly you've spoken to the doctor about. Have you done all of that stuff? So coincidentally, I'm in a baby group called Goodnight Baby, hosted by Elena. She's a sleep training, baby sleep expert. And on that day, she happened to put the details of a lady who deals with postnatal depression. Her name is Celia. So someone else had asked a question, and another lady had then she had referred Celia to that lady. But I just took her number and I texted her. I'm like, hi, my name is Kaylee. I think I might have postnatal depression. She's like, oh, okay. You know, she's lovely. She's like, oh, you know, she's such a lovely lady. Yeah, no, how are you? How many kids do you have? What? Can you send me a voice note of what you're experiencing? And then I told her everything that I was going through. And then she's like, yeah, okay, I think you have postnatal depression. So postnatal depression can be treated in two ways. Either with talk therapy, where you're talking to somebody about the things you're going through, or you actually have to be put on medication, because like I'm saying, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain, I think. You know, the doctors can tell me in the comment section. So she says to me, yeah, okay, I think maybe you need to see a psychiatrist, because I think you're going to need medication because your case sounds quite severe. In my head, I'm like, oh, she's saying I'm crazy. You know, there's always that stigma with mental health. So at that time, I decided, so she'd referred me to some people, but I was like, you know what, let me talk to my gynae, because a lot of psychiatrists and specialists will require what do you call referral letter, sorry, from a doctor for you to be able to see them. So I sent my gynae on WhatsApp. I'm like, hi doc, you guys know how much I love my gynae, Dr. Ziruma, shout out. I don't think you even watch my videos, but he's amazing. He's an amazing gynae. I texted him. I'm like, hi doc, how are you doing? Look, I'm sorry to send you a WhatsApp, but I think I think I've got postnatal depression. He's like, okay, well, what are you experiencing? And then I listed everything that I was going through, and he's like, yeah, you definitely have postnatal depression, and I will only be at peace when you see a psychiatrist. You probably need to be put on medication, but it's important for you to see somebody. Then he said to me, does Chonks know what's happening? I was like, look, I've explained to him, I've told him, but I don't think he really understands how serious what I'm going through is. I mean, he's trying to help, but I don't think he realizes how serious it is. He's like, no, it's fine. I'll talk to him. And he called him. He's like, look, what she's experiencing can be extremely severe. You need to watch her very carefully. Things can go south very quickly. I mean, he's like, look, I've seen women throw their babies out of the window on 5th floor at Avenues. It's not a joke. Things can change very quickly. You need to watch her. Then he said to me, look, there's a psychiatrist that I tend to refer my patients to. These are her details. I need you to make an appointment. Speak to her. You need to see someone, and you need to be put on medication. That is the only time that I'll feel okay and comfortable with your situation. So I called up this lady, her secretary, and they're like, yeah, okay, we can do online consultations and everything. Because it's online, you can't use medical aid. It's going to cost $100. I was like, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be in Harare in 2 weeks time, and then I'll come and see you then, and I'll use my medical aid, and I'll come and get help. So sure enough, I went for my, before I went for my 6-week checkup, I made an appointment with this lady. Now, the whole experience of going to see a psychiatrist. Now, I'm going to say this has nothing to do with the lady, nothing to do with the environment, nothing to do with them, but it was all about me and what I realized is my own stigma against mental health patients. The moment I knew I had to see a psychiatrist, I was just like, I feel like I'm not crazy. I don't need to see anybody. But I'm like, no, but I mean, if it's going to help, let's just try. So I make the appointment. I get into the parking lot. And the first thing I feel is embarrassment and shame. I was so embarrassed. I was so embarrassed. I walk into the reception. There's a lot of people and everybody's looking. And people aren't doing anything wrong. The receptionist hasn't done anything wrong, 100% professional. But for me, I felt like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing, so shameful. And equally, I'm looking around and judging them like, oh, are you crazy? Are these people crazy? I'm not crazy like y'all. I'm here for something different, you know. And whoa, I'm not like crazy, but I mean, hey. So at the same time, I'm also being that person that I was afraid of. So anyway, I went in to see this lady. I went in for the consultation. She was lovely, to be honest, but because I was so embarrassed by what I was going through. I felt nervous the entire time. I felt so uncomfortable having to say everything because it felt like an admission of failure. I felt like I failed. Failed to life, failed to mother, now I'm crazy kind of thing. But anyway, I spoke to her, told her what I was going through. She made me fill out an assessment to see what is the extent to which I'm feeling depressed and anxious. I was scoring very high on the anxiety and relatively high on the depression. So she's like, okay, yeah, how do you feel about being put on medication? And at that point, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm already on medication for blood pressure, so I don't mind taking more medication. And if it's going to help me stop feeling the way I'm feeling, I'm willing to give it a try. But to be honest, I was so negative. I was like, it's not going to work. I probably just need to exercise or drink more water or whatever. This meds thing, you know. I don't know. How can medication help your mental health? Like, honestly, what is the connection there? I understand medication helping your physical health, but how on earth will medication help your mental health? But I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. My doc says I have to, okay? My doc says I have to. I'll do it because he says. And I know when I go for my appointment, he's going to ask me about it. So whatever. Yeah, put me on medication. So she's like, okay, cool. So she prescribed something for me. And she's like, look, first few days are rough. Adjusting to the medication. The most common side effect is nausea and everything. And yeah, just be prepared for that. But she's like, okay, look, I'm going to have another appointment in 2 weeks' time to review. Our goal is to see if there is a slight improvement in the way that you've been feeling. We're not expecting miracles. Treatments like this can take a long time. You're likely to be on treatment for the next 6 months to 1 year. Are you prepared for that? And I was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. But she's like, in 2 weeks' time, we just want to hear that there's a slight improvement. If there's a slight improvement, we'll take it from there. If not, we'll take it from there too. I was like, okay, cool, whatever. So I start taking the medication. The first few days were rough. That nausea is not a joke. Like, literally, I'll be sitting there and I'm like I'm literally gagging. Like, I can feel it. I felt, so horrible. And again, so embarrassed. I didn't tell anyone that I'd started the medication. I felt really horrible. And then 2 days after that, I went to go and visit a friend of mine. And I hadn't seen her in a while. And I missed her so much. So I went to see her, and she was also someone who's been going through a lot the last couple of months. And she said to me, okay, look, life has been so hard. I've been put on antidepressants. I was like, what? Really? You too? And we kind of bonded over that. And it made me feel so good knowing that I wasn't the only one. Because with some of these things, you genuinely think it's just you, eh? And you are the first. You genuinely believe you're the first and only one going through it. So she helped talk me through it, like, oh, okay, yeah, look, this is what to expect. I mean, after about a week, I started to feel better. I was like, wow, that sounds so cool. And she just, she talked me through, like, we talked a lot. Honestly, that afternoon, I went to go and see her because I missed her, but I didn't know how much I needed that conversation. That's just a God thing. She talked to me about, therapy. She gave me her therapist's details and everything. And we just, we spent the afternoon, just talking about mental health and just, coping with being an adult and going through depression and all that stuff. And it really made me feel so much better. Physically, I was still feeling horrible. Mentally, still feeling the same, but I was like, yeah, okay, cool, whatever. And then after about 4 or 5 days, the nausea got a lot better and I started to feel back to normal. And then after about a week, I noticed a change, a slight change. So I woke up in the morning and I was like, I opened my eyes. I was like, okay, I don't feel like crying. Small change. I'm not going to say anything big because sometimes what will happen is out of a week, I'd have one good day. And on that good day, I would be super productive, super me. Yeah, I'm going to do this, going to do that. Wada. And then the next day, I can't get out of bed. So I was like, okay, one good day. I don't feel like crying. I don't feel that brick in my chest. Fine. It's one day, right? Then it happened the next day and the next day. And then I had a sad day. I was like, ha! Knew it. And then the next day I had a better day. And I was like, okay, I'm starting to notice some changes. Then after about a week and a half, I felt like a brand new woman, okay? And I don't even know how to describe it. My problems are the same, right? I was still stressed about everything I was stressed about, but I felt more competent. For me, I was just like, okay, it's not that bad. So it's something before where something simple or small would have made me spiral into a fit of anxious depression. Now I'm like, okay, this thing happened. That sucks. Okay, let's see how we can deal with it. And then by 2 weeks, when I went for my review, I was like to the doctor, like, I'm a brand new woman. Honestly, I haven't felt that good in years. I think probably since I lost my parents. Honestly, I think I've been depressed since I lost my dad. And I didn't realize how bad it was until I got on the antidepressants. And I was like, oh, wow, wow, life on the other side is just, you know, like I'm saying, it's not like happy pills like people make it seem on TV. Just like you feel normal, you know, you just feel balanced. Whereas, I mean, on most days, I'd start my day at like a -10 and try and claw my way back to 0. I start my days on 0. So if something good happens, I'll go up to a 5 or a 10. If something bad happens, I'll go down to like a -5 or a -10. But I just feel balanced. I feel neutral. So it's 3 months down the line. Honestly, I am still on medication. I have a review. Oh yeah, actually I forgot about that. I'm actually supposed to go for a review this August. But generally, I feel a lot better. I do feel a lot better. Like I said, I'm still extremely stressed. Like I'm other than the depression and everything, I've just also generally been going through a lot personally. I am stressed, but I just feel more capable. And I've fallen in love with my babies again. Like, just genuinely. Like, of course, it's still hard. They can be exhausting. They can be irritating. But, like, I've fallen in love with my babies. And as we've gone through the journey and Aya's a little bit older now, things are a little bit better. I'm not breastfeeding anymore. Because like I mentioned, she has an aversion to my breast milk and she reacts completely badly to it. So she is 100% full-time formula fed. I don't want to hear comments, okay? I don't want advice about it. I am all those pro breastfeeding people. That's wonderful. This is not the video. I don't want to hear anything about that. I've been attacked a lot in the past, even just with MJ about breastfeeding and formula feeding. I don't want to hear it, for the record. This is just what it is. We are 100% formula feeding right now. It works for, you see, actually, there's a tin of S26 and I ain't ashamed. So since that has also helped my mental health significantly, because I do hate breastfeeding. You guys know this. 3 months later, I'm in a much, much better place. I highly, 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 highly recommend anyone, not just new moms, but anyone who thinks they might be experiencing depression to get help. It doesn't mean that you will be put on medication, but also just therapy is just such an amazing thing for you. Of course, this is a mental health series, so you know I'm a huge mental health advocate, and I actually do want to get experts on mental health onto my channel at some point so we can talk more about it. I'm no expert. I am a patient, so I am not going to be the one to teach you. I'm simply making this video to share my experience and also to remove the stigma associated with a lot of mental health issues. And I'm not saying it's just you guys, to be honest. I had a bit of a stigma as well. And I didn't realize that I had it until I was diagnosed with a mental health issue. And I judged myself about it and other people. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey. But yeah, I mean, look, depression is a spectrum, right? It's not one size fits all for everybody. I think it's something that I'm looking forward to us digging deeper in. This isn't going to be the only episode in this series. We are going to do several ones discussing the different types of depression, how to get help and all that stuff. But for now, I thought I'll just share my experience with postnatal depression and hopefully I've helped somebody out there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and comment down below if you have dealt with depression. And if you have, what was your journey? Are you on medication? Are you in therapy? What helped you? Let's continue this conversation in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.